What's up, Math 8? This is Mr. Bainey, and we're going to take a look at lesson 5.2, writing linear equations from a table. The standard up at the top is 8.f.4, and the essential question is, how do you write an equation to model a linear relationship given a table? In the previous lesson, 5.1, we wrote equations from a situation or from a graph. And so you're still expected to know how to do that and practice that. Now we're given different information. We're doing the exact same thing, which means we find the same exact information. So we're looking at y equals mx plus b. And if we can find out what the m is and what the b is, that's the slope and the y-intercept, we can write the equation. Okay, so let's go to one of our your turns. On the second page, number 1, we have a table here that shows the volume of water released by the Hoover Dam over a certain period of time. We're going to graph the data and then find the slope and the y-intercept from the graph. Write the equation for the graph in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is the y equals mx plus b. So just to read this table and understand it a little bit, this means in 5 seconds, there's going to be 75,000 meters cubed or cubic meters of water released from the Hoover Dam. So that's a lot of water. That's only in 5 seconds. In 10 seconds, there's going to be 150,000 cubic meters. In 15 seconds, 225,000 cubic meters. So let's graph this. Looking at my graph that they already have created for me, the time here goes by 5 seconds, which works for us here. The volume of water looks like it goes by 50,000 for every single box. So this is 50,000 here at our first little mark. So if I'm going to graph this at 5 seconds, 75,000, which is going to be like right there. 10 seconds is going to be 150,000. 15 seconds is 225,000. And 20 seconds is 300,000. So if I were to actually draw a line, I can see that this line is going to go through, whoops, this line is going to go through the origin. So something like this. So it will eventually touch the origin. I can see that this is going to be, a proportional relationship. Okay, all I got to do is divide the y divided by x. Let's erase this right here. That means if I do 75,000 divided by 5, 150,000 divided by 10, and so on, I'm going to get the same thing over and over again. So I know my y-intercept is going to be 0. So if I'm filling out my y equals mx, my mx plus b, I know that my b is going to be 0. Okay, so that's right here, b equals 0. Next, I'm going to figure out my slope, my rate of change. So I need to figure out, okay, how much does this change? So this is my y. I'm going to put up at the top. That's my y column. This is my x column. So I want to look at change in y divided by change in x. So my slope, my m, is to go from 75,000 to 150,000, I subtract those. So 150,000 minus 75,000. And when I subtract, remember, you're allowed to use a calculator, you get 75,000. And then for the time, I'm going to do 5 to 10, which means 10 minus 5. So what I'm doing here at the bottom is I'm doing the slope formula. And when I divide 75,000 divided by 5 is going to give me 15,000. So that's my slope. So that's going to go into my formula, 15,000 x plus 0. You don't have to write the plus 0 because plus 0 does nothing. So you could just have it as y equals 15,000x. Okay, so that's our equation. We're done with that one. On page 137, near the bottom, let's try these your turns here. A salesperson receives a weekly salary plus commission for each computer sold. The table shows the total pay P and the number of computers sold N. Write an equation in slope-intercept form to represent this situation. So if you don't know what these terms mean, salary and commission. A salary is like it's what we get paid regardless of how much sales that we make. So a commission is like what extra money that we're going to earn or that this salesperson earns if they sell more computers. So the salary is what he's guaranteed. If he sells nothing, he'll still get his salary. But if he sells some computers, he'll get some extra money. That's called commission. So this table says that we've got 4 computers sold by the salesperson. He's going to get a total pay of $550. That's his salary plus the commission. 6 computers sold is $700, and so on. You can see here there's 5 points. I got this here, this, and then 5 points total. The top row is my X, the bottom row is my Y. I don't need that many numbers. That's actually too many numbers. And so in order for us to find our slope and our y-intercept, y equals mx plus b, I need to figure out my rate of change. That means if he sells a computer, how much is he making? So for my slope, I'm going to do change in y. That's 700 minus 550. And then change in x right here is 4 to 6, so 6 minus 4. So I get 150 over 2, and that is 75. So this number actually means $75 per computer sold. Computer sold. So the 75 goes in my equation right there next to the x. Okay, and then the next part, this part's a little bit tricky, and this is, so far everything has been review, or at least it's, you've worked on it before. So the next part is we choose one point and the slope. So I'm going to rewrite, just so we don't get confused, this is a different color here. Y equals mx plus b. And what I need to do here is, so again, I need to pick a point and use the slope. My point is going to go in as an x and a y into this y equals mx plus b, and then the slope goes in for m. So I'm going to choose the point 6 and 700. 6 is my x, 700 is my y. So again, looking at my y equals mx plus b, what's y? It's 700. Equals, what's m? I got m already, it's 75. And then x, I go back to my point, it's 6. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, replacing those 3 things I just mentioned. So I got 700 equals 75 times 6 plus b. The whole purpose of doing this is so that we can find our y-intercept. Remember that on the left side, we still need to fill in that blank. That's our y-intercept. So 700 equals 75 times 6 gives us 450, and then plus b. So I need to figure out 450 plus what number goes here, if I add them together, is going to give me 700. And the mathematical way to think about this and to work it out is subtract 450 on both sides. So I subtract 450 from 700, and I get my y-intercept, which is 250. Okay. So 250 is our y-intercept that goes in this blank, and I have my equation. So I'm going to leave this here for a few seconds. Feel free to pause it if you need to copy it. And also, go ahead and pause it anyway, because I'm going to be showing the solution to the last your turn here. I would like you to give it a try. The answer is going to pop up here in about 5 seconds. So pause it right now. Okay, first thing I did for this particular table is I found the slope. So I found change in y that's going from 45 to 50. Forgot to label it. That's our y here. That's our x. They try to use different variables here to kind of mess this up. And then I did the change in x from 10 to 20. So I subtracted 20 minus 10. So this here, very common mistake is that a lot of people got 2 as their slope, but it is 1/2, 1 over 2. So that's our slope. And then I used the y equals mx plus b. I chose a point, 20 comma 50, and I have to use a slope. So I got y is 50, m is 1/2, x is 20, and I got plus b. So 50 equals 10. I got 10 from 1/2 times 20 is 10. And then I had to subtract 10 on both sides to figure out that b right there. So b is 40. So the only thing I have not written down is our final equation, which is y equals 1/2 x plus 40. There's our linear equation, and we're done. Okay, that's going to be it for this lesson. And by the way, this whole process that's in blue right here is actually going to be the extra piece that you need to know how to do to continue working on your MYP project. There'll definitely be some more practice, but keep that in mind and think about how this is going to help you for the project. Okay, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. Have a good weekend. Thank you.